Welcome to the Blaize interview. My name is Blaize, and this is...
I'm Rebecca Buckley.
Hi, Rebecca. How are you doing today?
I'm doing awesome.
So, yeah, I met you doing comedy. So, how did you get started into comedy?
Yeah, we met at Chewy's lesson.
Yes. It was actually pretty good, like, a good crew, a good mic, good good crowd, great lineup. Everyone there was so great.
Yeah, that was a fun one. I got that show with Bob Ferrieri, who I'd met at another comedy show, and I'm actually kind of still relatively new to comedy.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I host a mic, and sometimes
Nice.
when people ask me how long I've been doing comedy, I like avoid it or don't really say because I'm so new, and sometimes I'm newer than they are.
That's fine. I mean, when did you start doing comedy?
I started doing comedy in February of this year.
Nice, congratulations.
Yeah,
what was your first mic?
My first mic was the LGBT mic at the Comedy Nook.
Oh, I haven't been to the Comedy Nook, but I've heard good things about it.
Yeah, and I was getting in my head about it. I was like, I'm gonna start comedy by my birthday, which is in March. I'm gonna do it by my birthday. And then I would psych myself out like, oh, but I'm not gonna write the perfect set by then. I'm not gonna write the perfect set by then. And it was I was putting so much pressure on it. And then I was just, I started this notebook, and I would kind of write, anytime a bit would come to me, I'd sort of write it and kind of write it under headings and themes.
Mm-hmm.
And then one night I was just on this tear about, making fun of myself for being bi, like you do. And I took a little social media scroll break, and I saw a little Instagram post for the LGBT mic at the Comedy Nook that night, and I was like, rip the Band-Aid off, like, let's go.
Fuck it.
So I went and I did that mic, and, I was like, afterwards, I was like, I'm the best comedian in the world, and I'm sure there was like 4 people at the mic, and I'm sure I wasn't that great, but it was like just
that big old monkey off your back.
Yeah, exactly. Then you're like, oh, it's just this, and so.
Do you remember what your first set was about? Was it also about just being bi or what?
Yeah, it was just about being bi, like. Yeah, I have daddy issues and mommy issues too. Like, just, ribbing on myself, making fun of myself, and that's kind of the easiest. It's a good way in, I think, a lot of times to, take what's there, how you look, how you feel, the things that frustrate you, and those are the things that I find are like the quickest way in to make jokes about. And then, you move on to like observational and things that are like more broad and even just like more generic, but it was the kind of the easiest material to start with.
Nice. Oh, I get you. Like I was talking to another comic, his name is Ruben Aguilar, and he also owns a mic in South Pass at the Berkeley. I always forget. But we were talking about stuff like that too, and just like. I just like literally because I fucked up. I was like, I just
your brain still.
It kind of like, oh fuck, I fucked up with it. What we're talking about.
Making fun of yourself.
Making fun of yourself. Not only that, but just having the crowd know who you are. Because he had a comic come in. Is like, you know what I really hate. The other comic said to everyone else show is like, everyone out here is like, they're just telling jokes. They're not really telling the audience who they are, you know what I mean? And like you have to like, and when he said that, it made me think about like, oh, like comics, they tell a little bit about their story, they tell a little bit, and they weave in the joke into the story. And I feel like that's one of my favorite like types of jokes is like when it's a story and like as they take you down the avenue, there's like little jokes and punches in between.
Yeah, and I think that's also advice you get a lot as a comic is. Whatever is going to be most noticeable about you, just hit it right off the bat because the audience is going to be thinking it anyway.
Yes.
And of course, me in my head, I'm like, everyone can tell I'm bi. And it's like, it's not necessarily visible.
It's not like you wear a scarlet letter on your chest.
Yeah. But yeah, that was kind of like, that's usually, you start off, get that out of the way, and then you move on to the rest of your material. It's like, that was all I had, was just like shots on myself, basically.
And then how has your comedy evolved since you started? Like, what are some things that you, like, how do you feel like you've changed up since then? Like, what do you have a joke that you said when you started out, and then, like, now that you said it for a month and a half or 2 months, you've changed it?
In my vast experience.
In your vast experience. You've been doing comedy long enough to have a baby.
Yeah.
It's pretty much what we do.
A late-term abortion, at least.
Amen.
Well, I noticed, like, one that comes up a lot, especially when I'm hosting, because I get more than one chance to go up.
Yes.
I'm going up between every comic. One that comes up a lot is either being biracial or having autistic parents. And sometimes I blend those together. Like, if it's about being biracial, I'm like, yeah, I'm mixed ethnicity. My mom's Mexican and my dad's autistic. Oh, it's not fair. They're both autistic. And I grew up playing. I just have like a whole bit about being, the product. I'm not clinically autistic, but I am culturally autistic. Kind of
I remember you talking about that. Yes.
Yeah, and that one always seems. I feel like everyone can relate to that as Asperger's and autism, sort of more in the dialogue these days.
Yeah.
It's the new safe target.
Safe target. Is anything safe nowadays? Who cares?
Oh yeah, we're tasked with pushing the boundaries.
We
That's our
should.
job.
I mean, what are your like thoughts on like people bombing at open mics? Can people bomb? Because there's a saying out there that like you can't bomb an open mic because you're trying things out.
Yeah, I feel like that should be the intention almost. It's like not to do your polished A material, but just to more so get in your bones and like ride that line of really connecting with people and like trying. Because I feel like you step in a wormhole when you're doing comedy. Like it's like time slows down and you can see all these possibilities. And you kind of have to like put yourself up on the edge and like feel that riskiness that you might not necessarily, and also it's not that serious, it's not that deep, but I feel like your open mic should be really messy and trying things and brave and dangerous, and then you get to your show and you're like, okay, I'm not gonna I'm gonna do my tight 5 or 8 or 10 or
whatever I like actually have that actually works. I mean, we all have jokes that we said and you're like, okay, that joke's like a 60-40. I'm not sure if it's gonna work, but we'll see how it goes this time.
I also try like I have the great privilege of I travel. I have a very boring corporate job, but they send me to various cities.
Nice.
I'm a corporate event manager, and so I will go to like Chicago, San Francisco. I went to Canada recently.
Nice.
And so I kind of get to see like what different parts of the country think of different jokes too, and like what worked in Canada doesn't like really work in LA in the same way. Like you can shit on being an American in Canada, but you come and shit on being in America, and everyone's like, yeah.
I think it's like, especially if you're like in West Hollywood, it's like But then if you start shitting America in like Orange County, then it's a little different.
Yeah.
It's a little different because then you're going to Southern California. I was because I grew up in Diamond Bar. Do you know where that is?
I don't know.
Do you know where Pomona is?
Yeah.
So Pomona, Diamond Bar is and then it's Pomona. So you're going down 60. So that's pretty much where I grew up. I grew up about like 15-20 minutes north of Anaheim.
Do you like anytime you say like, oh, I'm from Diamond Bar, and someone says no, you're ready with Pomona? Like
always.
You're like,
everyone's
that's
like
the
Pomona.
next.
It's either Pomona or I say I'm 15 minutes north of Disneyland. I'm like, oh, really? Like we weren't allowed to go to Disneyland. We just weren't.
Why not?
Because they said it's too expensive.
It's a class thing.
It's too expensive. No, it's because because here's the thing. In high school, a whole bunch of my friends, they would ditch every Friday, and they had season passes, and they'd go to Disneyland. I asked my dad if I can do that. He slapped me and says, "Who the fuck you think we are, rich?" He's like, "You think we're rich? The fuck? You want a Disney pass? Pay for it. The fuck?"
Damn.
I mean, he's not wrong.
Keep it real. I've actually never been to Disney, and I wanna go for Halloween maybe this year. So
it's
I'm
fun.
Not like a Disney adult or anything. But
I mean, if you've never been to Disney, obviously you're not a Disney adult. I know because, like I said, I grew up with friends who became Disney adults, and it's.
You watch the transition.
It was like you kind of see it. You're like, okay, you're cool. You're in high school and you like Disney. That's quirky and cute. That's fun. You're in college. You like Disney. All right, cool. That's quirky and dumb. All right, you got 3 kids and a mortgage and you're still fucking in Disney every weekend. Like, bro, calm the fuck down.
Yeah, but I gotta be careful because I have Disney adult friends, so
I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. I will talk shit to you. If we're friends, I will talk shit about your hobbies to you. It's like, you like hiking? Oh, thank you. You like being out in the hot wilderness and pretending like you're lost? Oh, how am I gonna find myself?
That I do like. I do like. I find myself when I get lost.
In the woods.
Except for, I do think about murderers when I'm in the woods.
Thing is, when I'm hiking, I'm always worried like a spider or a bee's gonna bite me.
That's the difference between men and women, right there. You know? I'll punch a bee, but there's someone hiding in the woods for me.
Oh no, when I was in college in Hawaii, they have cockroaches literally this big, and they fly.
Oh no!
So this big ass cockroach is like a foot long, comes flying at me. I punch it. By the time it hits the ground, it does a 180 and comes right back at me. I was like, oh.
Anything that can fly, I'm not good with it. My policy with other creatures in my house is I try to catch and release, Like gnats, mosquitoes, they're not important for biodiversity, kill it on site. But things that I can catch and release, I try to get them out. But just today there was a spider under my desk that I tried to catch it and it wedged into a corner where I couldn't get it. And I was like, well, I guess I don't live here anymore. I can't come back.
At the same time in Hawaii, there's these things called cane spiders, and they grow in the sugar canes. And so one got loose into the dorms, and this is back when I first got to Hawaii and I first started. I had an 8 a.m. class because every college kid wants an 8 a.m. fucking class. You know what I mean? So I have an 8 a.m. class, so I get up around 7 o'clock to get to go to class. So I get I have my water bottle, I get the Brita, pour it out, and I'm about to fill the Brita out. And as I start going to fill the Brita out, this thing moves right behind the sink. I'm like, oh, what the fuck is that? I turned on the lights and I saw this big ass it's basically it's the size of a tarantula. Ooh. I literally screamed. I was like, "Wake up! Wake up!" I went into my room, my dorm, and I woke up my.
You need to back up.
Yeah, so there's 4 of us in the dorms. There's 2 rooms, right? So I went to my room and was like, "Wake up! Wake up! There's a big ass spider!" And then I went upstairs to my roommate, and I knocked on the door. I was like, "Wake the fuck up! There's a big ass spider! What the fuck?" Because this is like my first month in Hawaii. I've never seen a spider this big in my house before. I was like, "What the fuck is this?" So yeah, everyone woke up, and then it ended up being we ended up losing the spider. We don't know what happened to it, but it went into my room. I ended up not sleeping in my room for 3 days.
Oh no! But did you find it?
No, we just assumed it left.
That's horrifying. Don't they have chickens? They have wild chickens in Hawaii?
They have wild chickens everywhere. Wild chickens and wild boars.
They have wild boars in Texas, where I grew up.
Yes, so I've heard it's a problem.
It is a problem. You could get murked in the woods by a wild boar. Gotta be careful.
That would be scary. I was in another time in Hawaii. We were hiking, and so it was me. It was 3 of us, right? So it was a friend in front of me, and then a friend behind me, and there's this little thing nestling in the tall grass. And my friend didn't know what it was, and I knew that it wasn't anything bad because there's no natural anything that kill humans in Hawaii. There's no snakes. There's no predators. So he turns around, and he's a lot smaller than me, a lot weaker than me. He's a little mixed white boy, and his face is pale, and he's trying to run, and I grab him by the chest, and he's like, let me go, and I was like, relax. He's like, what? I turned and I looked. It was a golden retriever.
The closest thing to a predator in Hawaii.
I know. He's like, oh, okay. He was just defeated after that. I was just like, bro, you need to relax. There's nothing out here. There's not rattlesnakes or anything.
How long has it been since you've been back in Hawaii?
2018, February of 2018. So
that's last year in COVID time.
Basically. I moved out here. I'm supposed to go to grad school, but I've been kind of slacking on that.
I think it's fine to take your time. So, as someone who rushed into grad school, I think it's fine to take your time.
Yeah, I have a saying I like to say. Everyone wants to be 25 with 25 million in the bank and 25 million followers, and that's not what life's about. You know what I mean? It's what I always ask a lot of folks is, what is your level of success? How do you visualize your success as a comic? What would make you successful? Is it touring?
Oh my gosh, what are you, my therapist? He's like, Rebecca, it seems like enough is never enough for you. And
wow.
I'm like, yes, Daddy. I have this thought that always comes back to me of I just want to get away with it. I want to do my little jokes and my little art and just get away with doing it. I don't want to have to be on LinkedIn. I don't want to have a money making job. I want to just do the thing that I want to wake up every day and just do my art and
just tell jokes.
Yeah.
But you also do poetry.
I do poetry as well. I'm a slam poet, and I'm a writer, and I think of myself as a storyteller, Blaize.
What a savant! I feel like you should be over here with some red wine, like, I'm just a storyteller.
Yeah, my little corn cob pipe.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm a performer. I want to be able to make really amazing stories with my friends and collaborate with people and do sitcoms and be on the TV.
Be on the TV? So, like, would you say, like, being a reoccurring, like, would you be on an ensemble, like, 30 Rock?
Yeah, I don't want to be like Rory from Gilmore Girls, because then you're kind of always that.
Yeah.
But I want to be like just recurring enough in something where you get to kind of do, and also it's important to me to do the material that I want to do. I don't really want to do schlocky, cheesy, toxic masculinity-driven pop schlock. I want to be able to do something that does have some creative freedom into it and
kind of like a Tina Fey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's...
She's honestly, she's one of my favorite, like, writers. Like, her writing style and everything she writes. Like, her movies, her TV shows. What's your
favorite Tina Fey project?
Ooh, Mean Girls?
It's a classic.
Mean Girls? Like, every Wednesday I wear pink. I have Wednesday
it's
shoes.
Tuesday, but,
I mean, it's more lavender, girl. It's more of a lavender. Yes, you can call it that. I'm not really calling that really a pink. It's more of a lavender. You can't sit with us. Be gone.
Wow. I just got outfit checked.
Yes, you did.
Okay.
Because I'm fetch.
Stop trying to make fetch happen, Blaize. No, yeah, she is. I mean, yeah.
30?
Then, I'm already like way behind to get to Tina Fey level. But if I could just get, my version of success is just getting to do it, really,
I mean, isn't that what everyone would want? Like, I can't, like, doing the touring thing seems like it seems like a lot. It's a lot. Because you listen to, like, people, like, musicians and comics both talk about, like, being on the road and, like, just how shitty it can be.
Yeah, so, going back to my job, I have gotten a little bougie because, I'm flying on my corporate credit card to whatever city. And
first class?
Not first class. I'm still in coach with the rest of the
economic.
With
the peasants.
But, they put me up in a hotel and they pay for my meals while I'm on event. And then I was in the Bay Area and I lived in Sacramento for a time. So I rented a car and drove to Sacramento to go I booked some shows in Sacramento, and I was staying with some friends. And, I come with my little roller luggage and my little blazer, and then I roll up into my friend's house, and there's, like, 5 roommates. Someone's girlfriend moved in. She's pregnant. The dog had its first period. There's 3 cats. There's a bird and fish, and I'm sleeping on the couch, and I'm like, okay, I'm clocked in as road comic now.
Yeah.
It's a difference.
That's a good story, though. I mean, like, because do you ever, when you go out to these trips, do you ever do mics there?
Yeah, since I started doing comedy, whenever they send me to an event, I'll always, try to look ahead at what mics are, what open mics there are, what shows I can get booked on. I was really fortunate to be in Montreal for the Just for Laughs, tail end of the Just for Laughs comedy festival. So I got to see a bunch of really amazing comics, and then I did a show at Harrigan's Pub, I think it's an Irish pub there.
Nice.
And then I'm going to be in Chicago in a few weeks for work, and that's such a great comedy town. So
I've heard a lot of people talk about, like, Chicago's one of the best places for comedy, which I'm actually surprised, but because I thought it'd be like New York comparatively.
Yeah, I guess it's just the improv. Steppenwolf, of course, the theater, but then what else? It was Second City start there? I should know. I should be a better student of comedy, but yeah. So,
John, trust me. It's okay. I'm one of these people who, I'm not, like, if you don't know everything about everything, I'm not the one who's like, I hate that, because, like, some folks...
fashion standards are higher than comedy standards. Okay, gotcha.
Well, girl, especially when it comes to Wednesdays. When it comes to Wednesdays, I'm always fleek.
Oh wow, now we're putting Fleek in the mix. I remember when Fleek came out, and I was like, does anyone know what it actually means? Like, this is like the Emperor's New Clothing. We're all like, yeah, we know what Fleek means.
Yeah, of course.
You
don't know what this is Fleek. Oh, your eyebrows? Those are Fleek.
It's always the eyebrows.
Yeah, the eyebrows on Fleek. It was the eyebrows on Fleek. And I was like, okay, cool. I guess it just meant eyebrows look good.
Yeah, I'm like, can my butt be Fleek? No, I don't know.
I guess because it's like they thinned them out. Because, like, every time they talked about it, it was after they got their eyebrows done. Because I had a lot of friends who always got their eyebrows on. They always talk about like.
I'm always like so behind. I feel like I'm someone's parent on TikTok. Like, what are the kids up to these days? Man, there's so much new slang these days. I don't even know.
What's the newest thing that you heard?
What is the? I know. I really thought I was gonna pull a really snappy anecdote, but I just
first time you say anecdote, you
I know. If I'm saying anecdote, I don't know.
You can tell she went to grad school. She actually uses her vocabulary well. So this is why it's hard for me to get into grad school, because I could take my GRE and I'm like, I'm just like, I'm not good with the words and the writing. I'm a little bit dyslexic.
I mean, the grad school I went to graded in like rainbows and unicorns, so you just find the right program for you.
Well, my problem is because I got to get to. I'm trying to get my doctor's in physical therapy.
I was gonna say, was your bachelor's kinesiology?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I got my I got certified massage therapy here in Hawaii, California, before I went to Hawaii, and I actually got caught in a catch-22, because I have 520 hours when I left, when I got there, but in Hawaii I need 570 hours. Oh. I was like, all right, well, fuck you then. So there's two things that can happen. Either A, I can pay for 5,000 hours of a class, right? And I'm like, all right, no, I don't want to do that. Or two, I have to intern for someone for like 6 months, and like hopefully I can work that way. But it's like people that, because I was going to school, I had to find a place that was close, and a lot of people like they weren't paying, or they wouldn't. Or they just didn't want to deal with it. I didn't want to spend like all that money just for another like course, which something I just took. So it was just like, all right, fuck it, I'm not gonna do it. You know what I mean? So I ended up just staying in school.
But do you have those hours by now? Or like,
yeah, I do now. Like recently, I went to Long Beach and I took a cupping course.
Ooh, I've heard of cupping.
It's fun, but I do what's called cold cupping, so I don't do what's called hot cupping, which is fire cupping. So I don't do that. Main reason why is because of goddamn fucking Arkansas. Fuck you, Arkansas. Yeah. So because Arkansas has a law that like massage therapists can't use fire cupping, they just said fuck it, no one else. And they're just gonna the program that is not gonna deal with it. So I was like, all right, fuck it.
Interesting. What's the like principle behind cupping?
The best way I like to think of cupping is when let's say I put the cup here in your thigh, right? Mm-hmm. So you put the cup there and it sucks up it pulls the skin and everything else underneath it. So I like to say, think of it when this is how you know I'm a real Mexican. I equate everything to cleaning. So you sweep it up in a circle, right? When you clean, you clean in a circle, so that way it all comes from the outside in. Yeah. And so that's what it is. So all the junk and thing collects right there. So the darker it is, the more junk and like toxins, I like to say, are there. But I like to say just junk. You know what I mean? Just junk, because people know what junk is. You know what I mean? Yeah. Just junk. It's just stuff that like just waste product, and so it gets there, and then you just flush it out. You literally pee and poo it out the next few days. So the first time you get it, a lot of times the marks are darker and they last longer. But the more often you get it, the lighter and the less time it takes for the marks to dissipate. So they're on you less longer. And so because your body gets more used to it and there's less junk in your body, as you say. So that's how it works. But you got to be careful, because there's things that kind of go wrong. Like you can get blisters. If someone gets a Botox, you can fuck up their Botox.
Oh, yeah.
So like I know a technique called lymphatic drainage, where we will drain the fluid from the face and the body and everything. It's like cupping.
Jade rollers, right?
Like that, yes, but I use my fingers instead. It's very, so give me a hand. It's about this much pressure. Oh. Very, very light. But we have to do a full body.
Oh my god, that gave me chills though. I love language's touch.
So to do a full session, you have to do 5 sessions, because if you do too much, you can overload the liver and the kidneys. You can get sick and puke. So first, I usually does this. I use the first session is the head, second session is the head, the arms, third is the head, the arms, the legs, third one's the whole back, fourth one's the head, arms, legs, and we finish with the core, and we pick up and drain the liver, like just like a teapot. Pick it up and drain it, and you can feel it drain.
The body is so fascinating. Mm-hmm. I really want to. Do you ever do like Reiki or anything?
I don't do Reiki. Okay. I've been asked to do Reiki. No, actually, the funny part, how I got into cupping, I used to work for this chiropractor who's also an asshole, but
classic chiropractor.
Okay. So I was when I first worked with him, after like 3 months. He's like, do you know cupping? I was like, no, I don't know cupping. He was like, oh, you should really learn it. I was like, okay, thanks. And then a few months later goes by. He says, do you know cupping? I was like, no, I don't know cupping. He's like, you should really learn it. And so he keeps coming up to me like, each time is shorter and shorter time. Like, he was literally, like, comes out back-to-back days. He's like, do you know cupping? I was like, no, I don't. He's like, you should learn cupping. I was like, okay, I'll learn cupping. Yeah, so I ended up taking an online cupping class.
Online?
Exactly.
What?
Exactly. This is back in 2019. It was bad. So basically everyone I was working on was my test subject. So, and I hated it because I really studied for the book. I really studied. They gave you this little cheat sheet, and they're like, okay, I studied the cheat sheet, and I took the test. When I took the test online, right, I was like, all right, read the first question. That's the first question from the thing. So I reached into my bag and I grabbed the paper out, and I was like, C.
Oh no.
B. D. It was in the same order. I was just like, I felt like kind of like a little.
You've done yourself a disservice.
It was really bad. I mean, what's even worse? It was like $200, $200 for basically for a book and a certificate. Yeah.
Yeah, chiropractic also kind of freaks me out. You know, like they could just sever your spine with one wrong.
Yeah, so I do something. So there's two types. There's obviously the acupuncture, and then there's something I do. It's called a craniosacral massage. So it's just like with lymph. It's very, very light. So you move with the fluid of the body, but not of the bones. So your bones have a natural flexion and extension. We just can't see it for the same reason why we don't see our nose. It's because our brain just sees that it uses information, and so it throws it out the way. But they have a natural flexion and extension. And sometimes they get all jagged and messed up. So what you want it to be like a seesaw right here. Pause to the other side. Pause, like a nice flow motion, and it's really good. So it realigns the bones. It's acute acupuncture. So acupuncture or chiropractors. So chiropractors like very, very aggressive. Boom. Whereas with us, it's very, very gentle, and we move with the bones. So we don't.
I feel like I'm getting massaged just hearing about it.
You can tell. Like I'm very good. I have my massage voice.
Yeah.
I know how to.
You sound like a professional. Like I trust you.
I know. It's. I know how to talk it.
I learned some anatomy stuff through. I have a BFA and an MFA in theater and acting and theater studies, and we do learn some various anatomy, and we learn about the parasympathetic nervous system and.
So that's what I usually work with is the parasympathetic nervous system. So it's very, very relaxing, and so it's always funny because I went to an acupuncturist, and she said the same thing that the chiropractor said. So when I went to the chiropractor, he's like, "Oh, why don't you think about being a chiropractor?" I was like, "I don't really want to do that." And I went to the acupuncturist. She's like, "Oh, why don't you become an acupuncturist?" And I was like, "I don't really feel like doing that." But I think my acupuncture hates me. Just because I went to...
She sticks those needles in a little too hard.
Yeah. The way she's kind of condescending. She's like, Blaize, you're a handsome young fellow. You should marry a young, beautiful girl, settle down, have some kids. You need to slow down. And the main reason she says this, because one time I was at a Baka show and I accidentally got a little bit too drunk and I was a little hungover and ended up puking at the office. But I puked into the trash can, so fuck you.
Like a gentleman.
I called her name and said, "Can you hand me the trash bag?" She's like, "Oh," and I got it. Cleaned it up, threw the bag away and everything. Like it wasn't like I just puked on the floor.
A man's hangover,
You know what I mean? I politely called because the thing is I was in the shower that morning. I was like, I should puke.
Oh.
You know what? You're like when you're like, I need to puke.
Yeah.
I need to puke.
I feel like there's like a couple little like signs. Like I get a little hot and I start getting a little saliva. I'm like, it's now. It's right now.
Yeah.
Like,
you get that dry sweat. You're like.
But every time I get hungover to the point of to where I've got to release, I feel like a child or like immature. I'm like I should handle myself better.
You feel like I'm 19 again.
Yeah, I'm like, what am I doing at this age? Still getting that hungover. It's like just one less drink or one less whatever it was.
It's just like, but at the same time, you're like, it was fun though. It was fun.
Sometimes. That's the thing with comedy too, though, that I try to like figure out what that line is, because sometimes like one drink, two drinks, it helps you kind of hit that that zone, get in that zone of where you're like a little flirtatious and a little open, a little like faster on your responses, and then one drink more and
you're
now
a little
you're
sloppy,
cocky and you're sloppy, and and then of course you get in the habit. It's like becomes like a culture thing of just gotta drink every time. So sometimes I try to like manifest or psych myself out in this way of like, tonight my drug is sobriety. Like I'm gonna ride my own chemicals, and like my anxiety is my drug tonight.
You know what? It'd be a better thing to do is if you just went up there with a remote control vibrator and just there you go. That's
you know what? I would try. I had a friend though. Someone told her that she had to do comedy on mushrooms to go to the next level. And so I went with her, and she, did this open mic while she was tripping on shrooms. And I don't really necessarily buy into that, because there are like completely sober comedians or, all range of whatever. I don't think you need to do that, but I think it's a slippery slope.
For everyone, not everything's for everyone. I mean, not everyone has the same tolerance level. And some people, they can handle getting sloppy fucking drunk every fucking night. Some people, they can't. I'm kind of a buzz. Like when if I go to a club, I'll have 2 to 4 drinks max. Mm-hmm. Like after that, I'm done. Sweet spot. Yeah. So I was like, before I go up, I want to have 2 drinks to 2.5 drinks. You know what I mean? Maximum. So that's where I feel like my level is. Where I'm just like a little bit loose, but I'm like at the edge of not forgetting my jokes. You know what I mean? Because sometimes you go over there and you're like, fuck, what was I gonna say? What was I gonna talk about?
You're just blank.
Because I really try and memorize my jokes.
You do.
Because I really try.
Do you write down too?
I write down. Well, what I do is my method is like I think of like things and topics, and like something pops up in my head. I write that down. I think what's funny about it. Like I think I told you heard my service dog joke, right?
Oh yeah.
Because so like I thought about getting her a service vest. So then I thought about like, oh, what's funny about getting a little dog a service vest? You know what I mean? Because like, do I really need to bring this bitch with me everywhere? You know what I mean? Like some people, they bring their dogs everywhere. But like, and then I try to make I just rip off that, and then I just go in that. It's like with my notes section on my phone, and I just make just different jokes off that one thing. So you
can just know the topic, and you kind of can feel it out from there.
Yeah.
You
so
know what you have to.
I'll put a
list.
list
down every.
So I'll make a set list. So like when I go up, I was like, I want to talk about my hat. I want to talk about. So I'll put like hat joke, crossing the border joke. Stuff like that. So whatever.
That's kind of where I'm at. I've like had to get to that place because I did come. Actually, my gateway drug to comedy was slam poetry. So I was,
That's more bold though. Slam poetry is bold.
Okay. So I got into comedy because one day I walked into traffic and I was like, I think I'm living my life wrong. I think I'm.
You walked into traffic?
It was, to say it as a euphemism.
Okay.
I tried to unalive myself, and I was like, I am living my life wrong. I'm too serious. I'm too tightly gripping on everything, and I'm serious art, serious actor, serious poetry, and. That was kind of my divergence into comedy, into silliness, into just enjoying the present moment and the absurdity of life. And so when I moved to LA, I was just in a crazy kind of transitionary period in my life. I was just out of this long-term relationship. I, feel like I moved to LA 10 years too late in the middle of a pandemic. Like I felt kind of like the walls were closing in around me, and I was just. And I got my car stolen. It was my first week, and I was just like, "Welcome to LA, baby!" And I took the subway. Did you know LA has a subway? Yes. I found out, and like just walking to any comedy show I could go to, and a comic told me about this open mic at the Universal Bar and Grill near where I lived, and actually around in North Hollywood, around where I first lived when I moved here, and. That it was a comedy or music / comedy / other, and I was like, I'm other, I could do other. And so I started doing slam poetry there, and just getting sillier and sillier and sillier, and finally this one poem I was like, you know what, if this didn't rhyme, this could be stand up. So that is when I, got the idea, like, okay, I'm going to do this. I had never considered doing stand-up before.
But here's the thing, like, you can be a slam poet comic.
That's what I'm trying to do now. I'm trying to, like, bring the two, integrate because I don't think I need to, like, totally forget who I am, and I think that it's it's great that I have this like kind of poignant
ability,
somber side of myself.
talent.
Yeah, but I guess to where I was getting to, because I love to make a short story long, I was very written when I started comedy. I could probably like page through this notebook and see every single word that I said in that first open mic, because I was like, I am going to write every word, I am going to say every word. Like, I come from the theater where the playwright's words are the Bible, you know, and poetry where it's so crafted, and I think that was really evident when I started out, that I was really kind of rigid and stuck in that. And a good comedy mentor told me, like, just don't write, like, do an exercise where you just, like, at the end of the night, just, like, make 25 I statements. Don't try to be funny, just, I'm brunette, I went to grad school, I'm bi, like, just I statements, and just, like, talk them out and talk your set out, and just, like, that was, like, a really good exercise for me in just kind of getting loose with it. And so now I'm to the point where my set lists are just bullet points.
Yes. That's good. That's actually a really good, like, exercise. So, like, not just a beginner comic, but, like, even experienced comic, just to sit there at the end of a set and, like, I, boom, I, boom, I, boom. And that's a good way just, like, to start, like, a writing exercise, I think. Just, like, if you want to start a new joke, it's like, okay, I haven't written something about myself in a time, or even like how I was talking about, like, the service vest, be like, the service vest is this, and then the service vest does that, and this is also the service. And that's just really great. I don't have to, like, steal that technique now.
Yeah, no, I think it can also get you outside of yourself, because I think you can forget what your assumptions are, because you just, like you're saying with, we forget our nose, we forget our bones, we forget that we have these assumptions and opinions, and sometimes just stating them out loud, you're like, oh yeah, I actually do hate redheads. Like, you know, you're like, I forgot that, I just have that. And then you can figure out, like, why and what's funny about that. And maybe I'll, you know, it kind of shakes you up a little bit, because every time I'm like, I've said everything I have to think. You know, it's like, there's always one more thing.
Yeah,
you know?
you can always squeeze out the bottom. But that brings me to, like, bombing. And, like, there's two ways of bombing, I think. Either you stick to the script, or you dive head first into the bomb. How do you? How is your bombing method? Do you just stick to the script, or do you dive head? Like, you look at the crowd and you break the fourth wall, and you're just like, I know I'm bombing. I suck.
Oh God, bombing is such a unique experience, because, like, you know, in theater, it's like, I could think my acting is bad, or I could think the audience isn't connecting, but at the end of the day, it's not really my words. You know, I'm gonna stick to whatever that script was. But when it's your own words and thoughts, just like your nervous system is just freaking out and going haywire, and time starts going fast, and you feel like, I don't know, I feel like you can talk a lot faster, and I feel like pauses are so important in comedy, and so really getting back to that pause, I think, is something, a skill you really have to learn when you're bombing. But when I first, there's the Fourth Wall North Hollywood mic, I went, it was like a Friday night mic, I went there, and, like, I'm a seasoned performer. I've done, like, professional touring shows for like audiences of thousands. I've done poetry all over the country.
Wow.
I have 2 degrees. Like, I know how to be on a stage.
Educated.
But I went in this tiny little room with 6 guys and 1 spotlight, and I looked in that freaking light too long, like an amateur. blinded myself, bombed all my jokes, and literally tripped off the stage.
Oh, no!
And you know what my first thought was? I gotta come back here next week.
Yeah.
Because that is such a good, like, that's such a good exercise, of, like, good tool. So now I'm at the point where, yeah, to your point, when it almost is, like, funnier when, like, a laugh doesn't go right, or, you know, you don't get the laugh you're looking for, and it's like, there's the laugh I was looking for. You know, you kind of, like, own up to it. You're like, yeah, we didn't like that one. Oh, no, I thought that was garbage, too. You know, you just, like, name it, and it brings people back on your side, and you can, like, totally win people back over. Because, you know, you feel like if a joke bombs, you're like, everyone thinks I'm dumb. They're not going to, like, accept anything else I say.
Yeah.
Like, you feel stuck. And you just, like, kind of, yeah, it almost gives you more options to just name it. And that is the real, like, gift of comedy, is being present in the moment anyway. Like, that's this thing that so many people miss out on. It's just like, yeah, can you ride that wave and be like, I see you in your seat, you know, feeling that thing, or like, oh, they just made a weird laugh, or like, oh, I said something that didn't make sense. Let's go back through that, you know? So, yeah, nowadays, it's like bombing is kind of something you're never going to fully get away from it.
You can't.
You're not going to, I mean, you shouldn't be bombing 100% of the time, but there's going to be someone who doesn't like a joke or...
Yeah, I mean, there's some comics who revel. I know, I forget this one comic, but his name's like the bombing artist or something like that. So he kind of goes with this mentality, like he tries to be like super, super edgy and super, super like dark humor. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, and there's some comics that are kind of like that. Like, not that they're like, they're trying to bomb, but they're trying to make it like uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And so they're trying to make it. It's a weird. It's their weird fetish, I say.
It's an art. It is like that is a skill too, though.
Yeah, some people can do it very, very well. Some people, they need a little bit more time. You know what I mean? They just need to ride it a little better. There's a few more steps that they're like, you have something, but right now it's not really anything.
I know, some of this stuff is so, and it is magic to me. Like, it's, and I know, like, the only thing that, like, nothing kills comedy quicker than, you know, being serious and melodramatic, but, like, comedy to me is this, like, higher form of existence. It's this, like, great, it's the best thing about life, is that there's existence and it's absurd. And, and being able to just have that little subtle bit of like the right kind of pause and the right kind of vibrations versus like if you're a little tense and anxious, no amount of pausing is going to make people laugh, or no amount of uncomfortability is going to make people laugh. But it's just the right, like when you can just drop into that moment in the right way, you could push it to a limit, like I know that I forget her name, but there's one comic who does this joke like that. I think it's just, I'm from New York. And she just says that over and over and over until it's not funny. And then suddenly it's funny. And she keeps going and it's not funny again. And then it's like, there's these...
It's kind of one of those things, they're probably younger, so they're probably like trying to, they got to work that out though. It's one of those things, it sounds like one of those jokes, it's got to be a pop. You got to, it's just, there's sometimes where it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, but I love alt comedy. Kristen Schaal and Kurt Braunohler, they do like a similar kind of bit where Kurt is just like, Kristen Schaal is a horse that you ride, since you jump, since you ride. It's just like that over and over again, and she's just like kind of dancing around the stage, and they're just repeating that for like 16 minutes, like a crazy amount of time. But I do love that kind of weird, edgy humor. But I think the line is like edgy humor and shock jock, and I'm not so much into the shock jock humor. Okay. I'm just gonna, punch down on people or say, when people are like, oh, I'm just being edgy, I'm, gonna make fun of this person or that, and I should be able to say whatever I want, fuck cancel culture. And I think it's like, yeah, but you do have to be funny.
Like, I get what you're saying, but what you're saying isn't funny. Yeah. Like, some people, like, they'll say jokes, and they'll look at you, it's like, why aren't you laughing? That's funny. I'm just like, that's just an observation. It's not really funny. Just because you think it's funny doesn't mean it's funny. It's just an observation. Yeah. I mean, there's so many different types of comedy. I mean, Baca was we were talking about Baca about his like
Does he do comedy?
He doesn't do.
I haven't quite got him figured out yet.
He's just a promoter.
Yeah.
He just puts on shows, but he's a funny guy. I mean, we're talking about like his making a contest for comics, and he's like, oh, I don't know how to grade comics because there's so many different types. I'm like, bro, that's the stupidest thing ever. Because like, how do you rate like a rapper? Like, how do you rate a hip hop artist? Like, you know what I mean, how do you have hip hop contests and don't just all you gotta do is just whatever you do for the hip hop contest, apply that to also the comedy contest. Like stage presence, do they stay in the time zone, like the time limit? Because some comics be able to be like they go like only do 4 minutes or 3 minutes. Some of they do like 8 minutes. And like, bro, get the fuck out the stage.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, there's I feel like there's enough parameters, but it is tough when you're judging art. It's like what's the best art is kind of relative, but yeah, he's really out there producing the dance competitions, the rap battles, the comedy contests, and I like the mix showcase too. That kind of brings in different kinds of crowds into one show, and maybe some audience members I wouldn't normally get to perform for, because they're there to see their friends who are rappers.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, I say this, some jokes work in West Hollywood, but they won't work in East LA, and vice versa. You know what I mean? It's just like East LA is a different crowd than West Hollywood. I mean, it's even on Orange County. Like, here in LA, there's just so many different, like, pockets of just, like, cultures that, like...
It's like 90 cities in this city.
Yeah. And there's so many different places. Like, that's why when everyone says, I'm from LA, I'm like, what part of LA? You know, I was like, what do you mean, what part of LA? Because, like, someone says, like, I'm from LA. It's like, no, you live in Highland Park. It's not, you're in LA, you're in Highland Park.
I'm still a newbie to LA, so I'm just like... There's one place that I can get to without my GPS, and I'm like, okay, I'm doing it.
And that's the Starbucks.
And it's across the street.
Bitch.
No, it's the. Well, I guess I could also get to the Laugh Factory, because I host at the Badger and Jam open mic on Sunset, so I can like get to there and back to my home.
It's a great the set. It's a nice, comfortable room.
It is. I like it. It's got good vibes. It's small, and it's out of an apartment kind of.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was like a business area.
Well, yeah, it's like I guess it is a business park, and there's like studios and other, like, I don't know.
There's businesses
in there, but it's basically a 1-bedroom apartment with a bathroom, or I guess it could be just a, I don't know, generic multi-use space, but no one lives there. It's just this tight little room.
How did you start like hosting there? Like, how'd you get involved?
I was going to that was one of the mics that was on my rotation. I was going there pretty frequently. I'm trying to use slang like the kids.
You're talking like you're a 90s kids. You know what, you sound like those 90s campy movie, like a Friday night movies, like what's Clueless.
Oh,
sound like you're in Clueless.
There you go, Clueless. Hell yeah, bring that back. That was one of the mics that I was going to, and one day the owner is Violet. She just messaged me on Instagram and asked me if I wanted to start hosting on Fridays, and I think that like she just needed to fill that spot, and she just looked at who was coming to the mic. But I also like to think that, you know, having my good social media presence helped sell that, you know, I could be a good, reliable host, and got, you know, I put my jokes up there and try to keep the Instagram looking fresh. _ Rebecca Buckley on Instagram. It's hard. It's a great mic. It's fun. I like the Friday spot because it's like a good energy, and and I think it's being a host is a whole totally different skill set in some ways. But you know, if people haven't booked a show, then they can come through on a Friday night. But that does also mean that I'm not booking shows on Friday nights. So I try, you know, but there's plenty of other shows to book. You know, Monday shows and Tuesday shows and Saturday shows. But yeah, it does, like, I love being a host. Like, I love making the playlist and thinking about, like, okay, what's gonna be like the right playlist for this vibe and this crowd. And then, like, I have really learned it's not about me doing all my little jokes and it is like, that's my privilege as the host, is I get to do the jokes that I want to do, but also I'm there for people. And I really, you know, I used to have rules. I would say I only have 2 rules. My first rule is, I'm glad you're here, pass it on. And that is meaningful to me because, you know, comedy means a lot to me. Yeah. I think that, like, comedians really struggle with mental health. And I think it's, like, important that we are a community, and that, like, yeah, I'm glad you're here. Wherever you're at in comedy, keep coming back. Yeah. And my second rule is, don't be racist unless you're killing it. But now, I'm like, nobody, like, I used to, now when I, like, for a couple weeks I would be like, okay, I used to say don't be racist, but everyone hated that rule, so now be as racist as you want. In fact, be as racist as you can.
I mean, if you go to some places, they might really take advantage of that rule. Some folks, it's like they say some racist stuff, and it's like, ugh.
Yeah. Now I just, now I don't have any rules. It's just I try to just be a good container. I try to set the bar low and the vibes high, get the show going.
What are some things that you think make a bad host?
I mean, probably some of the things I do. I think people don't like when comedians try to shoehorn their jokes in at every opportunity. But I think you have to a little bit. You have to kind of call back to what the last comic said and kind of do another tag on someone's joke every now and then, or just kind of keep the audience, keep the momentum. Ultimately, it's for hosting for a show, you're really keeping the energy up for the audience and keeping them, like, keeping things seamless and the energy going. I don't know what else makes a bad host. Maybe being too mean. I do like to be mean every now and then. I think it's good for people. I think comics especially like it, and it's like...
Especially when it's a girl who's being mean to them.
Yes.
It reminds them of high school.
Fuck, being a female host, man, it is, you gotta have thick skin. Like, some people will spend half their set flirting with me, but, like, I let it happen because, also, like, that's what comedy's for, is getting laid, That's the human evolutionary response to how to be a better mate. He's gotta, like... If you don't got the looks, you better have the jokes, Or
any other adequate information.
I did see one time a host stormed out of a mic. Like, people did, like, one of his jokes didn't go well, and he was like, I am working 60 hours at Popeyes. I don't do that to, put up with this shit. Just, like, stormed out of the mic, and someone else had to, like, host the rest of the mic, and it's like... Dude, it's not that serious. Like,
Bro.
Yes, it is that serious, but also, like, take a joke, use it, like, make something out of it. Comments on how you're bombing, Like,
hey, damn, bro. Was it the side of the mic?
It
was the side of the mic?
It was actually a mic that had 3 different hosts, and he was the second host, so it was, like, in the middle. And, the first host just had to, like, come back and host it. But, yeah, it was a little, like...
Awkward. Like,
but then, as soon as he storms out and he's halfway down the street and everyone's kind of in silence for a minute, he's having the worst week for the rest of the week, and he's going to be thinking about that and justifying it and wrapped up in that energy. Meanwhile, the rest of us were like, oh, dude! Like, it was hilarious to us. And then, like, 5 minutes later, we're like, thinking about something else.
Yeah.
Like, no one else is going to
care.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you could just use it for material now.
Yeah, now you have to.
I was at a Baca show once at Saints and Sinners in North Hollywood. It was like one of the early ones. It was like the second or third one. And there's one comic. I have no idea who he is. I've never seen him before or after, but I'll give him like a 6.5, like mainly because he was 6'1". But like
knock him down a peg.
Yeah, knock him down. He was like a 6, and he had like. He was a little chubby, but not too chubby. But he was literally doing his set, and as his set went on, he literally went just like the voice went slower and lower, and like nothing. He literally like just ended up just stopped talking. He handed the mic to the host and just walked away. Walked out the building.
Oh, he lost his mojo.
He just like, and he was like one of the. He was like honestly, he was like the 5th or 6th one. So he was doing. It was a pretty good crowd too.
Wow, I wonder what was going on with him.
No one knows. We all looked at each other like, what the fuck just happened? Like, and we were all like, why did he leave? Like, we all thought he was doing okay.
Maybe sometimes when I was kind of newer, or like in the early days of comedy, or even other things like karaoke. Like, I'm not a very good singer, so that's something that like singing in front of people will give me stage fright. But anytime I get stage fright, I feel like I can't hear as well. Like, something is happening in my body where I'm like in my ears, So maybe he couldn't tell that people were like laughing, and he was just like, I'm bombing. I gotta get out of here. I mean, it is public speaking, man. It's scary.
It's hard. I mean, I have been always one of those people who's always been the center of attention. So it's easy for me to like be the center of attention, but it's like,
you're the youngest child.
No, I'm the third of 4, but I'm my mom's favorite. Well, here's the thing, Mom. I am. Everyone knows it. I was my sisters are 10 and 12 years older, and they're from my mom's first marriage.
Oh.
So my sister always likes to call me the milkman's kid.
Hey, that's good though. That's good for comedy.
Yeah.
You need some
drama. I have a whole like, I'm still cultivating my whole like how I want to make it funny. Because I was talking to another comic, Ruben's, like, sometimes you have some life stories that are funny, but translating it from, like, talking to someone to like, talking about it on a stage is a little different.
Yeah.
Because you got to, like, make it presentable for the stage. You got to make it so that way kind of, like, the flow is different. Like, when you're talking to someone, you're, like, redoing the stage, you're laughing at your own joke. The stage, you can laugh at your own joke, but you have to, like, laugh at the right moments. You know what I mean? You can't just, like, fumbling over yourself.
Yeah, totally. And sometimes I'm like, is this sad? Like, is this bumming everyone out that, I'm making a joke about something really dark, and I feel like you have to... But then I see a comic that I forget his name, but there's a comic who talks about like being abused as a kid, and it's hilarious. And you're like, yeah, you can make anything funny, you just kind of have to pitch it in the right angle. Although I can't seem to make my therapist laugh, he's just always like, it makes me feel sad when you said that.
You sound like my father. Ah! Take me now.
Oh yeah. I did a show at Saints and Sinners. That was one of the shows that I thought, it was cool. There was like rap and there was comedy, and I mean, I went late in the night though. That's the thing about some of those Bacchus shows. They go long.
Yeah. Yeah, I like to call it comedy roulette when you go there.
Yeah, you kind of just have to be like, I'm here all night. I'm here till I'm here.
I'm here till I'm not here. Basically, I'm here till tomorrow. Sometimes. Sometimes I go there and I'm just like, all right, I'm not gonna be done till like midnight, if that. But it's great though, like the venues he has, people he puts on. I mean, I met a lot of the people who I do my podcast and because of Baca. Man, I met a lot of my friends, mutual friends in comedy are from Baca shows.
How long have you been doing comedy?
So I started in college back around 2017, and then I stopped for a while, and then when I came here, I stopped. And then I didn't really pick back up comedy until 2020. Like in the middle of COVID, I was like, I gotta get back. Because the funny part is, I started.
Time.
Huh?
What a weird time.
Yeah, I was actually dating a comic before I became a comic. Yeah. Yeah.
But you weren't a comic at the time.
No, I did a little bit of comedy, and then I stopped doing comedy. The reason I stopped doing comedy is because my family flew into Hawaii and surprised me. And I was and it was funny because my mom was calling me. She's like, she was texting me, where you at? And it's like, I'm at the club. I'm at the bar. And she's like, no, you're not. Where you at? I'm like, I'm at the bar. Yeah. And I keep telling her I'm at the bar, right? And she's like, okay, well, we're here at your house. I'm like, what the fuck? And I was like, I told you I'm not the house. Like, what the fuck are you doing? And so they all came in at the bar, and I was like literally up next. And they all walk in. They sit right in front. They laughed a little bit, but it's kind of like.
Oh, I could never.
It was like literally 3-4 months into me starting comedy. Yeah.
That's like cool to me though. I do like when people bring like their parents or I don't know, people that know them. I feel like I can be myself with strangers, but I'm estranged from my family, so I don't like imagine that they would ever come see me do comedy.
Especially in Los Angeles, California. Never go to California with all them little never. Am I about close?
I mean, pretty much, yeah. My dad is like full on. He wants Texas to be its own country.
How? I'll say this: if Texas claims independence, Mexico's coming right after their ass.
Yeah, they're like, we heard you wanted our country. You had some plans for our country. It's like, oh, what are you talking about? But. I have some friends, because I went to acting school, a lot of my friends have moved out here to LA, so I don't really get nervous to do comedy, so, like, not to a debilitating degree. Like, I think a little bit of nerves is good. It means something's exciting and important to you. But I get, like, really nervous when a friend that has known me for a long time is gonna come see me do comedy, because it's like, I don't know. There's something about it that's like just vulnerable and a little too, like, I don't know, like they could fact check you or something.
Yeah.
And be like,
well, like, bitch, what the fuck is
this? Yeah.
I've had a few of my friends come out. It's fun, I've had the only thing is because I've run a lot of my jokes by my friends sometimes. They came to after the set. It was like, I heard all those jokes before. I was like. Yeah, I know you have, bitch.
So laugh at the right part.
Yeah, so laugh when you know you're supposed to. Like, don't be a fucking cunt.
Oh, we can curse on this podcast?
Have we not been fucking cursing? I've been cursing. Have you not?
I feel like that's the...
I mean, I've been drinking.
One. Oh, okay.
I mean, we talk about a lot of things. We've... last comment, Sam Howard, we were talking about our sex lives. I mean,
of course.
We talk about a lot of things in this podcast. I let people talk about whatever they want to talk about. I mean, another comic has I know, right? Hazib, we came here and we just ended up talking a whole bunch just about like COVID and about virology, and I was like, bro, I was like, this is a subject that is I needed like 3 weeks to like research, and I was literally trying to hang on. I was really like, he was hitting me against the ropes, and I was just like, I'm trying to like, be a good like, you know what I mean? Just like trying to like go as much as I can. I was like, I'm not really sure how to like ask these questions. I'm not really certified.
Yeah, you didn't sign up for homework,
I know. I was like, but luckily because of my background in science, I was able to keep up.
Microbiopathophysiology.
Yeah, so I've taken enough science classes that I know like everything he's talking about.
Lucy, what's happening?
I don't let her lick my face.
Too? Yeah, no way.
That's one thing I hate. I never ever let her. The closest I let her get to is my neck and the back of my ear. But that's it.
She's in love with me right now.
Yeah.
I really want a cat. That's my.
I used to have a cat, but then the prenup. The girl, she kept it in the prenup.
Oh, does she still do comedy?
Yes, she's much better than me. And I will never ever talk back to her, and I will never say her name.
No, yeah.
I don't, because there's no reason to. It was just kind of one of those things like we just grew apart. You know what I mean? I just realized that like and I came to the realization like after a while I would have grown to loathe her instead of love her.
Sometimes the people, it's the people that you get the closest that you can push their buttons the best, or like, you can stab the knife the deepest, with those people that get close to you like that. And I get that stuff. Yeah, I'm not even messing with dating in LA. Like it's not for me.
There's two different things. Either you're dating in LA or you're fucking in LA. There's only two minimums. You know what I mean? It's not you're either dating or you're fucking. Like there's no in between. Like you're not really getting married in LA. Like, you're not really, like, engaged in LA. No.
I got rid of all my dating apps. I'm like...
Ooh, bold move. Bold move, Cotton. Let's see how it turns out.
Yeah. There was a, this is, again, so, like, my life, my first part of... This is, like, my second, phase of my life. But my first phase of my life, I was just a big romantic. And I was like... it's going to be me and my person against the world.
How long was your relationship?
Love and, my last, I did date someone in LA for like 9 months.
Okay, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good amount of time, though.
And before that, I was with someone for 4 years. We lived together for 2.
Ooh, that's a good amount of time.
But I was always so like targeted on romance. Like love is the most important thing, and that's that'll like align my whole life. And this person I was with for those years, we weren't on the same trajectory. So it didn't matter how much we loved or liked each other. It was like we're not going the same way. And so now I look at it more like I want to make sure I'm going the right way, and I'll meet whoever I'm supposed to meet, whether love, relationship or friendships. And so that's my new philosophy on life. And
you sound like you're about to cry. You're like, oh,
it's going really well.
You're like, we're really having a breakthrough. It's like,
yeah, this is a love and relationship podcast, right? Yeah. But I'm also working on my like my chosen family relationships. Working on. I have my neighbor is my emergency contact.
Ooh. Okay.
One of my close friends and her mom live together, and I live like right across from them. Like our windows look into each other's apartments, and hang out and play Scrabble and do puzzles together. And it is like so important to have that, just like your people.
Yeah, I mean you have to. It's especially being here in LA. It's like it's such a big city. You can feel so alone. Totally. Like you see all these people like hanging out doing these things, especially on Instagram, and like, oh, that seems fun. I wish I had known about that, or that seems like, oh, I wish I'd gone to the whiskey festival, or I had done this, or I had done that. And it's kind of like it's easy to get FOMO sometimes.
Yeah, because also again, it's such a big place where it's not the kind of like East Coast city where it's really densely packed into one walkable area. Like New York, you can kind of like stumble into things, accidentally end up somewhere. LA, it's like if you want to end up at the haha, that's where you're going. Like you got to drive there, and you got to park there, and you're gonna be there, and then you might go to another place, but you can't just like walk across like a bunch of different things, so it is a bit more like you can feel like you're constantly getting like pushed on the outside.
The only bad part is haha is like the worst place to say, because like it's literally down the street for a fucking chateau.
Oh, that's true. I guess you could
it'd be more like if the Brea Improv.
Yeah,
because there's nothing out there.
Yeah,
it's just like one of those things. Like even out here, like one thing I kind of hate about living in North Hollywood is like everything's just so spread out.
Yeah.
Like there's not really any localized area to hang out. Like even the NoHo Art District is kind of lame.
There's a pool hall that I like to go play pool at up there called Brickyard.
I've been there. It's pretty nice, but at the same time, it's not really nice enough.
Oh, do you play pool?
Poorly.
Okay.
I actually have
like, I don't even know the rules. Do you want to bet?
I get that. The fuck?
Let me get my cue out.
You're like, oh fuck. It's basically a woman pulling out a cue is equivalent of a woman pulling out a strap on. You know you're getting fucked.
I do have my cue in my car, actually. Her name is Dr. Crusher.
Oh, wow.
So it's a nerd reference, so it's it's nerdy at the same time. It's a Star Trek reference.
Okay, I've never gotten to Star Trek that much, but okay, cool. But like, I have a game that I play is like, it's the opposite of pool. So what you do is you hit it, and the rule is you have to have as many balls hit the wall as many times without going in.
Oh, it's carom billiards.
Never heard of that.
Yeah, it's like European. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Goddamn Europeans. It reminds me of Legally Blonde. Is he gay or is he European?
Oh my gosh, I love. We're doing so many like classic girls movies references. This is great. We've got Mean Girls.
Mm-hmm.
We've got Clueless.
I mean, those are great. I'm a huge Friday night kind of movie guy. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So like like a stoner
Easy
flick.
watching, yeah.
Yeah, like you get high, get a whole bunch of like treats and like popcorn. You cozy up. You put the AC on like -43, and you're sitting there just like watching movies and just like stone out your mind. Like,
is your mom a stoner? Like, where's Blaize come from?
She found it in a baby book supposedly, but originally she wanted to name me Anthony.
Oh.
But
classic.
Right. But the reason why she didn't was because my aunt, her sister-in-law, who has a son who's 3 months older than me, named her son Anthony.
Yep.
And my mom says she never wanted to kill an infant so bad in her life. She's like, I lost all that shit. So she came up with Blaize instead. So she moved Anthony to my second name. So I have 3 names. So it's Blaize, Anthony, Dakota, Sanchez.
Ooh, what's Dakota from?
She just liked it.
Oh.
When she was telling my grandma what my name was, she's like, just don't call it Mississippi.
Okay. Was that an option?
Oh, I don't know. Apparently it might have.
Yeah, I was almost going to be named Giselle. And I sometimes think, like, if I were Giselle, like, what would Giselle be doing?
Oh, you know for a fact, if you were Giselle, you actually would have been popular in high school.
I know. I'm like, thanks, Mom. I had to have hardships.
I know. It's like, fuck, I gotta be normal.
And Rebecca, I feel like I also will answer to the name Rachel because people always, like, 50% of the time, I tell them my name is Rebecca, and they just hear Rachel. I think because it's a biblical name, or because they both start with R, or maybe like Rachel. Was Rachel one of the people from Friends? I didn't watch Friends.
I think so.
I think so. Yes. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a forgettable person. People just, apparently Siri thinks her name is Rachel.
It's Alexa.
Oh, Alexa.
Siri's just for Apple, I think.
Yeah, but I went by Buck for 10 years. Because my last name is Buckley.
Okay, I mean, fair enough. I mean, you're like, I cut my hair short in high school. I mean, I went by Buck. It's like, yeah, she's a lesbian.
Yes,
she's like, I had a whole bunch of flannel shirts.
I was like really trying to put my queerness on display. I got the high and tight haircut. Woo. I was wearing a lot of button-ups. I went by Buck. Like, I was not well, but I couldn't afford to be butch because when you look like a man, you have to pay for all the dates. It's like I can afford the pink tax, but I can't afford the dyke hike.
Right, I remember that. That's funny. That's funny. I mean, it's hard. Like, I mean, like you said, dating here in LA is hard. So many people they just don't know what they want. I mean, I have friends to that. Like, I find it hard, like, what it is I like, what I seek in a person. Because, like, I've been talking to one person, but it's kind of like, I'm really not sure if I want to keep talking to them. You know what I mean? It's because they're a great person. We have fun. But at the same time, it's like, time to move on.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say I'm picky, but I feel like everyone should be picky when it comes to like your life partner. But I'm just like, I've had really, really special, like a really special person. Actually, the person I first dated here in LA, it was so special, but there were just some logistical reasons it didn't work out, and I'm just like, if it's not gonna be that special, I don't really want to like just date to date. So I'm just gonna leave it to fate.
Yeah. How many cats do you think you're gonna have?
Oh my god.
7 or 12?
I started off just wanting one, and I'm like, you know what? I think I actually need 2 because I need a cat for the cat. Like, I can't just have a cat by itself.
Right.
Like,
and
it needs an emotional support cat.
Yeah, and then you're like, they both need someone to help him out. Because what if he gets bored of him? So he needs someone to talk to. He needs a friend to friend with. It's the 3 Musketeers. You're gonna dress them up every Halloween. You're gonna dress them up. Oh no, they're gonna each have their own stocking. And he's like, oh, I don't need children. These are my children.
Oh my god. Yeah, and my freaking coworker just went on maternity leave, and I'm like, can I go on maternity leave? I'm expecting kittens. I need to be home with my babies. Oh god. But you know what? Do you know anyone who's polyamorous or?
I know if you.
I feel like it's becoming more in the.
Here in LA, yeah. Well, it's
culture. It's
kind of like, I feel like polyamorous is kind of like the single versions of being swingers. You know what I mean? Like, they're kind of just swingers, like, in the kind of sense. It's like they usually get one partner and they just swing with that partner.
Interesting.
That's what I've noticed a lot of times in my like personal interactions with those folks. Is like there's like one person who's like kind of like the dominant one, and then they're kind of in charge. And
basically just like unsatisfied. They're like, I need other people. Well, I would say I'm polyflexible. Like, I can be monogamous, but I'm also like totally cool with polyamory, and I've had open relationships before. I think it's just like you have to start that way, because I've definitely been in a relationship where we use that to like try and save the relationship, and that never works. Or I shouldn't say never, but it's probably not gonna work. But
yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, yeah.
So I have my little polycule now, my bench, my hotation.
Your hotation? I mean, everyone's, I feel, for me, I'm always worried. Because for me, I feel like I'm always worried, like, I'm going to get caught up. And, because I come from a very Hispanic culture, and I've seen too many of my family members have too many of their...
Side
pieces show up.
Oh, dang.
Yeah.
Confrontation style.
Kind of like, it's kind of one of those things, it's like they show up and like it's not pretty, or they show up and like it's like it's like, I'll be back. And they go for a drive and they come back and their hair's all a mess and shit.
I have been the crazy ex-girlfriend. Like, I still get jealous, but it's, it's not about, like, I'm not jealous of someone having sex with someone else. I'm jealous of, like, hiding the truth from me, that's, like, don't hide keep the narrative to yourself and hide the truth. Like, that's when I get jealous, and I have been accused of being the crazy ex-girlfriend type.
I don't think I've been called crazy ex-boyfriend. I've been more, like, I try and keep in contact with my exes, but, not all of them. I like to talk to them because I like to see what happens. You know what I mean? Trying to see like what happens next. Like I've my first girlfriend ever, who took my virginity. She's actually now married to another woman.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so I like to say basically all the men from Friends.
Wait, you're what?
All the men from Friends.
Oh wait, I haven't seen Friends.
I saw like the first
Is that
season.
what happens to all their girlfriends?
No, well
gay?
What's the name?
Ross.
Not Ross.
Chandler.
Okay, so Ross, his wife ends up being being lesbian.
Okay.
Chandler, every man or every person has that one crazy ex that they always go back to, even though, and they always get pregnant, but they're always still in your life somehow. We all have that kind of crazy bitch. She's pregnant, but she's always flirtatious. She comes back in your life, and then every guy thinks of Joey. What's she doing? It's a really, really bad joke.
So you're all three. You're like a combination.
Yeah, I'm all three. It was just like that kind of solidified it. I mean, I've actually been in a relationship with quite a few more lesbian women.
Interesting. Maybe you have like a feminine energy to you or something.
I do. Like, I've actually... Some folks have asked me if I'm gay. And I was like, no, I'm not. Thanks. Because I just like the way I carry myself. One of my friends... actually, Charlie, it was funny. He's like, I always love he let me play the straight man. I said, it's all right. I know how you're uncomfortable with your expressing your gender, your sexuality. And he was like, that's not what I meant. I was like, I know, but I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, I never like, I don't know, being bi to me, I never like questioned it or like had any like guilt about it. Because early on I was like, I wasn't religious or my family's very religious, and I think I just like rebelled hard on that, and so I never like felt like any kind of, I didn't have any issues like figuring it out. I was just like, yeah, this is just like how it is. And I definitely have my different types when I'm dating men versus women, but sometimes there's a little bit of crossover. Like, if I could just find like the perfect blend, maybe.
Well, like a lot of my is like I've said before, is a lot of my role models are actually women. So like my role models have always been like my mother, my sisters, a lot of my teachers. Like when I went to massage school, when I went to university, a lot of my role models, even now, like my boss, she's like another one of my role models, and like most of them were just women. It's like I'm always like been drawn to more. Like just driven women who actually like want to do something, who have like what's the word I'm like, the best way is like I like to describe my mom. Like my mom got COVID like a month ago, and I call her. It's like, hey mom, how you doing? She's like, I'm at work. I'm like, how do you? I was just like, I was like, okay, how you feeling? I'm working. Okay. It's like, I love you, mom. I love you. Bye. Yeah, that's pretty much just like that's how my mom is. Like she's just like no matter what, she's just always just like. Just hustling, you know what I mean?
Yeah. What does she do?
My parents own a truck body company, so my parents own it together. So my dad, he works outside of the yard. My mom works inside the office. So she does all the paperwork and stuff. And it's like
adorable. I love that.
It's not. It's a fucking nightmare.
Why? They spend too much time together?
It's just.
Now it's back to therapy.
Now it's back to therapy. Wow. It's just, my father is a very angry person. My mom's a very happy person. So, like, I look like my father, but I act like my mom. Like, a good situation is this happened actually last Christmas. So, me and my mom went out for Christmas, just me and her. So, we watched the House of Gucci. It was funny because it's about a movie about a woman who kills her husband. She's like, it was such a great movie. She was so right. I was like, mother, she killed her husband.
Like, mom, you getting ideas?
Yeah, I was like, yeah. She's like, she had her reasons. I was like, mother. So we went after that. We went to Benihana's, and it was just me, her, and then Benihana's. But it was me, her, and then right next to us was this mother-daughter, and then it was these two friends, and then across us was this older lady who was just sitting there by herself. And my mom, she's just friendly, so she starts talking to everybody, and she gets across to the other person, the older lady who's across the street from where we're sitting. I shouldn't say older lady. My mom will kill me if I say that.
Like, she was 2 years younger than me.
Actually, even worse. So it turns out they both went to the same high school, Wilson High School in LA, and she actually graduated a year after my mother. I think my mom graduated like 76, and then she graduated 77.
Wombats.
I don't even know. I think they're like I don't know what they are. I want to say like
Wilson
Wildcats.
Wildcats. There you go. It's good alliteration.
I want to say Wildcats. I mean, my high school is Diamond by Brahmas.
You could have been the Diamondbacks. It's like a
actually, that actually wouldn't have been back. That wouldn't have been bad. Actually, we were made before the Diamondbacks were created.
Oh, okay.
Because the school was created 84. Diamondbacks were created in like 92, somewhere around that area. Baseball. But my dad, when we go sit down to eat, doesn't say a word. Can't say a word. So every time, even to this day, I can't sit next to my father. I never sit next to my father. I always have to sit across from him. And it's just one of those things, because like I'm a loud kid. I was a rambunctious kid. I got kicked out of 3rd grade and got sent to a continuation school.
Wow. 3rd grade's so young. It's like, what can you do to get kicked out of 3rd grade?
That was a lot.
Wow.
That was a lot.